What a difference a week makes. It is currently 11 degrees and it feels positively tropical over the weather we've had recently. And it spurred me on to start a job I've been putting off for quite some time. And I say I've been putting it off, but I haven't really. The weather has made me put this job off. I absolutely loved the fruit cage, but it quickly became apparent that that fruit cage is not big enough for the needs that I have. So we're going to extend it by another half to the end of this bed here, which does mean, unfortunately, this brassica bed does need to move and this brassica tunnel needs to be taken down. So that is the first job today. Now, somewhere I've given myself this plan that I can lift each segment out, take it over the plants. Now that I've taken the cover off, I can now sort out the brassicas that are in this bed. Some of them need harvesting right now, but the rest of them, I'm actually going to try and dig them up and move them to an empty bed. I did this last year. I did move some brassicas late on when we had another project going, and that worked okay. They carried on growing right through into spring, so I'm going to give that a go again. First things first, I'm going to remove the rest of the sprouts on here. Now, some of them aren't particularly very big, but it's kind of a now or never for these ones. I don't think I want to move these. We have really enjoyed the sprouts this winter season. They have been one of the biggest surprises really as a family. We didn't think that we would enjoy them, but we have. So I'm definitely going to be growing more sprouts this coming year. Have my trusty knife, that'll cut the string. I've actually realised that this purple sprouting broccoli is actually starting to produce much sooner than I expected it to, but I am going to harvest what I can from these plants before I move them. This plant here is actually a Romanesco. I'd forgotten that I'd got a Romanesco planted, and if I come in a bit closer, look, it's starting to head up, so that's exciting. The rest of these greyhound cabbages do not look like they're going to heart up properly. They look like they are on their way to bolting. So unfortunately, I am going to just be removing those ones and composting them along with the little red Russian kale plants, because I have better kale plants elsewhere on the vegetable garden. But I am going to remove and replant the Romanesco and those two purple sprouting broccolis. Now, when I plant these again in another bed, I'm going to make a concerted effort to give them far better support than they've got in here. Let's go and get these planted somewhere else. First things first, I need to dig a few holes. Then I think I'll put the Romanesco in first. An opportunity to get these dug in a bit deeper than they were. These are not the best shoes for this job. when the fruit cage extension is built, this bed does not need to be here where it is right now. So I'm going to move the soil from that end of the bed over to this side of the bed so that we could get that edge of the bed moved out of the way when we're ready without the soil sort of spilling out all over the place. Another thing that's going to have to be removed, unfortunately, is this sweet pea frame, which I've absolutely loved having it here, but it won't be able to stay here when the fruit cage has been extended. We need to remove the bulbs that are in the ground here and get them dotted about elsewhere in the garden. I got it. Duncan is trying out a little trick on how to remove these really deeply knocked in fencing stakes. Genius! Wow! Well done! You made that look easy. What a nifty trick. First thing we need to do to make this extension is to remove the existing end brackets. Because the kit that I've bought obviously doesn't include these end brackets, it knows that we're going to be able to reuse these when we've extended it. So we need to take these off and replace them with adjoining pieces instead. While Duncan finishes doing the brackets, I'm tasked with undoing the new poles, and I have to say, absolutely love how well First Tunnel package their things. But I also have to say, I hate how well they package their things because it's not easy to get into. These bits here are well and truly stuck onto the metal bars. These are the bits that I don't like getting off. There must be a knack to removing them. Obviously, as we've already established, this bed does need to move out of the way, and we've decided we're going to do that now, move this piece. But in order to move this piece, I'm going to have to try and get the staples out of the bed. This is actually easier than I thought. These diagonal supporting braces obviously are on the corners. This is no longer going to be the corners when we've made this extension, so these need to be taken out, ready to be placed further out. As always, these things take longer than you expect, so we didn't manage to get it finished yesterday. It's a beautiful day again this morning, but incredibly cold. We had frost again overnight. Let's see how much we can get done today. Duncan's decided that he's going to be putting the brackets on these poles before we offer them up, just because it's a little bit easier doing it at ground level. The plan we have to make it easier for ourselves somehow is to kind of get these in place now so we know where the foundation tubes go for this. Duncan using his phone as a spirit level, just to make sure that they are square before we knock the foundation tubes in. Just securing the poles to the foundation tubes here with some self-drilling screws. Big step cutting this. My mesh is actually pegged down under the layers of membrane. So my job at the moment is just to remove this path, which needs to come out anyway. And obviously the membrane needs to come out where the new beds are going to be, so that we can free the mesh properly. Now I should be able to pull the clips out. Right, now Duncan's undone everything, we should be able to lift this bed out. And the bed will be going here. Look at that, just perfectly ready for it. Got a bit of work to do. Now it's the moment of truth. Can we get it to sit down? Ooh, we can. Thought I'd taken a time lapse of us clearing the soil so that this bed would fit in place. And I was really proud of how well we did that and how easily it fitted in, but unfortunately I hadn't pressed record, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Now it's on to making the rest of them. Yeah, that's the first side done. Really pleased with that, just needs backfilling with soil now. As Duncan carries on and mirrors this bed on the opposite side with the fruit cage, I'm going to work on filling these beds with the compost. This bed needs filling, these raspberries need moving into the end bed, then some of this soil needs moving because it will become part of the new path, and then we have the space to extend the strawberry bed in the middle. And it's all been about having a bigger strawberry bed. So I better get on with it. main box done. That is a really big strawberry bed and I'm really, really thrilled with that. Thank you very much, Duncan. But I have asked him for one more little thing, and I know this is pushing my luck a little bit, but I think he's going to look a lot better for it. Obviously, we've attached the new extension to the box onto the existing one, which has 4 sides. So I've asked Duncan if I can have another piece of wood like this across the top here, giving me 2 even ends and then a smaller section in the middle, just to kind of, you know, give me a little bit of symmetry. Completely unnecessary, but I think that when it's filled with soil, that will look quite neat because it will just make it look intentional. Last little job before the sun goes down is to plant these 3 raspberries back in the ground. I don't want them to suffer if there's a frost tonight, so let's get them planted and get them a bit warm around the roots. Put a good scoop of fish blood and bone pellets in there. We're on to day 3 of the fruit cage build, and don't let that put you off because it doesn't take that long to build a fruit cage, but we've got reduced daylight hours and there's only so many hours within those daylight hours that we can give over to projects at the moment, because obviously we do have a working farm to tend to as well. Today's task is to get this strawberry planter filled up. One of the things that played on my mind when I made this original strawberry planter was that there's so much compost in it, which feels quite wasteful because the strawberries aren't particularly deep-rooted plants. So in my quest to use less compost this time, I've decided that I'm going to use a few little bits of old branches and things just at the bottom of the bed first, then a good layer of manure, and then a smaller layer of compost on top. Oops, I got my arm stuck. I'll carry on and get this bed filled to the level that I want with manure, and I'll catch you back here later. In the meantime, let's have a little wander around the farm. Duncan's taken pity on me and is volunteering to do a little bit of wood chip shoveling. How much better does that look with the wood chip down now? Obviously the wood chip is quite wet because the pile that we have is exposed to the weather, but when that dries that should look really lovely. Indeed, the wood chip around the entirety of the vegetable garden is not looking its best at the moment, but drier days are coming. Spring is around the corner, so they keep telling me. Thanks to Duncan for bringing it around and actually for paying for it. I now have some more vegetable topsoil to fill in that strawberry box. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Now I plan to fill the rest of this bed with more blueberry bushes. We eat a lot of blueberries, so it's great to have all of this extra space for them. But they do need ericaceous compost, so I did dig this trench, which is how I planted the original ones. The roots can get down into ericaceous compost, but it only comes in little bags, so you do need quite a lot of them. I don't have anywhere near enough here right now. But I do have one blueberry bush that I managed to pick up a few weeks ago, and it's been sitting in the greenhouse waiting for this job to be done. So I'll get that one planted, and then I'll have to keep a lookout for 2 more varieties. One of the jobs that we've almost forgotten to do is put these corner stays back on. Oh, I remember this from doing the polytunnel. I hated pushing these on. Now, I don't know what Duncan did with the 2 spanners, so I can't tighten them up properly, but I can at least have the job started to make it easier for him. Now this netting is obviously to go around the outside of the fruit cage, and what we did notice was that First Tunnels have sent us enough netting to re-net the entire fruit cage. So I think that is what we're going to do. But while we have been working on it and the nets have been down, it's been quite nice to see the blackbirds and the robins coming in and out into the beds looking for grubs and bugs and things. So I've decided that I'm not going to re-net the fruit cage for the next few weeks, just to let the birds get any bugs that might be detrimental to plant health for this growing season. I am really happy with how it's turned out. We should have made it this big in the first place. So my advice to you, go big. Same with the polytunnel, buy the biggest that you can for the space and affordability for you, because you'll always want more. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.